Okay, this is now Astrology for Adults number 6, and I have 2 points to make today. I've got a different camera. I'll see how this goes. 2 points. One is, don't make long lists of connections between planets because it's too confusing. I'll give you an example in a minute. Instead, I'll show you how to begin with a chart. And the second point is, have multiple charts. Rather than calculate one chart or have one chart you're working on, you're better to have 10 or 20 or 50 charts that you're looking at off and on all the time. And I'll come to that in a minute. So this is a chart for Clint Eastwood. I think I'll put it on screen so that if this is difficult to read. But often what people do is they'll look at the chart, and let's say we want to know about Clint's career. It's the 10th house, right, up here. We want to look at what planets are involved with the 10th house, which will describe his career. And if you remember, Clint was a TV actor in a show called Rawhide, and then he went to Italy, and he appeared and starred in multiple spaghetti westerns, and then he was an actor. He became a director. He was a writer. He was a mayor of Carmel in California. Also, interestingly, he has at least 8 children by 6 different women, and we'll come to that in a bit. So often what people do is they'll look at the chart. It's printed up, and then they'll do things like, okay, we want to look at his midheaven MC, right? So we've got Leo, 27 Leo on the midheaven. And Leo is ruled by the sun. So we've got the sun in Gemini in the 7th house. And the sun in Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And where's Mercury? 23 Taurus. So we want to look for Venus. And then 23 Taurus is in the Capricorn decanate. So we've got Saturn at 10 degrees of Capricorn retrograde. And that's what people do. They sort of gather up all the information about the cusp and the planet and the ruler of the planet. Then we can consider this is also the Aries decanate of Leo in the midheaven, and that's ruled by Mars, which happens to be at 23 Aries, and that's the Sagittarius. People do that, and it becomes increasingly difficult to make sense of it. So you do all this, which is okay. I mean, it's correct enough, but then what does it all mean? So I'm suggesting you don't do that. Instead, if we take Clint's chart, I hope these are lined up properly here. So we've got Clint's chart, and you've got you, by all means, print it up, but then you draw a blank chart like this. And first thing, we start with the ascendant, and what's he got? 18 Scorpio. So maybe we begin with Scorpio. He's got Scorpio rising, and then we stop. And we think about what Scorpio is about. So I maybe come up with 1 or 2 key words for Scorpio, because this is the self of Clint. And we begin with the self. Well, it's a good idea to begin with the self. So what's Clint like? Scorpio is intense, we might say. So Clint is intense. And if you think about Dirty Harry and his other characters that he's played in movies, he is sort of intense, the way he treats people and the way he acts. So then we can add, so we've got Scorpio. The keyword for Scorpio is I desire. So Clint is intense and he desires for himself. This may not appear to be saying much, but we're gathering data about the nature of Clint. Then we can answer questions. So what's he like? He's intense. The keyword for Scorpio is I desire. Yes, I-R-E. So Clint desires for himself. And the problem with Scorpio rising, or the problem for Scorpio rising, is desire can never be satisfied. You always want more. And that's Clint's nature. Maybe that's why he's got 8 children and 6 women, or I don't know how many times he's been married, but do you know what I mean? There's a sort of intensity and desire about Clint, which can explain why he did what he did. So then we think we've got Scorpio here. That puts Taurus on the 7th house cusp. So Taurus would describe the marriage partner or the women in his life. Okay, but Scorpio's I desire, Taurus is I have. And that's his kind of path. He desires for himself so that he can have other people. And the more he has other people, the more he desires for himself. So this, we may not be able to relate this to much about Clint yet, but we've only looked at one little portion of it. So what we do in the beginning is gather information about Clint's background or the basic building blocks of Clint Eastwood. The 2nd house cusp is a value sense, and he's got Sagittarius here. He wants to understand his own values. And opposite is Gemini, I think. He thinks about other people's values so that he can understand his own values. And so when we find out about what Clint did or how he acted, how he behaved, we can relate back to he's thinking about other people's values and what they care about so that he can understand his own. That goes together with desiring all that stuff for himself. And then the 3rd house cusp is, I can't remember, 22 Capricorn. So he wants to use, Capricorn is I use my communications. And if you remember, he's a director. We'll get to that in a minute, but maybe that contributes to his desire to be a director, or the fact that he does become a director. And he's won 6 Oscars, and he uses his communication and maybe film. Think of the movie Unforgiven, I've never seen, but apparently it's kind of a morality tale. So he uses his communication so that he can feel Cancer, his philosophy. And so you go around the chart that way and get an idea of Clint's personality and background from the signs on the cusps. Then you can go around again, because this is 18 Scorpio, which is a Pisces decanate. So he desires so that he can believe in himself, because Pisces says, I believe, and he has other people so that he can analyze them, or he analyzes them so that he can see. And it gives you an idea about how he treats other people, especially romantic partners. So I've got to move on because of the time. But rather than do all 12 houses, do get a chart or a number of charts of people that you know or you're interested in or you like, and read a bit about them, and then just go through for yourself and make some notes about what the keywords and what the ideas are for each of the different houses. And then as time goes by, you'll be able to make sense of them one step at a time. So Clint's 27 Leo on the midheaven. So we stop at that point. So Leo is my will be done. So he wants to be in charge. He wants to be a king. He wants to be the one who makes the final decision and gives orders and people obey. He became a director. He was first an actor, then he became a director. Then he became the mayor of Carmel, California. It was a small town, but nevertheless, he was the mayor. He was the one in charge. Why? Partly because you got a Leo midheaven. That, along with other factors in the chart, explain why, or gave a reason why, or an explanation of why he was motivated in the first place to become mayor of Carmel, California. And also he wants to be director. Why? Because he's got a Leo midheaven. So we can also go to Leo is ruled by the sun in Gemini. And Gemini is a teenager, and Gemini communicates, and Gemini talks and writes. And so maybe the fact that you've got a Leo midheaven, he wants to be the king. And we've got the sun, the ruler in Gemini. He also wants to talk. Does this mean that he thinks about, because Gemini's I think, he thinks about the movie and then he discusses it maybe with other people. I don't know what his directing process is, but he's the one in charge. So what we're doing is we're looking, we know that this Clint Eastwood's chart is a chart of an actor, a director, the mayor of, and an award winner, and he's won other kinds of awards as well. So we've got Clint, and then we think about who else do we know who's an actor. And I have here, if I can read it, Grace Kelly, who became Princess Grace of Monaco. Oh, let me do it this way, and I'll cover that. So Princess Grace, and again I'll put the chart on screen, also has Scorpio rising, right? But it's first decan, it's for Scorpio. So they're both intense. Grace Kelly was very beautiful and attractive, which is people were madly in love with her all over the place. So Scorpio rising. So does that give us more information about Scorpio rising is attractive, or they draw people to them and sort of seduce people just because that's what they do, because it's a house of self. So by looking at other charts of, and so what's Grace got in the midheaven? Sorry, I keep banging the overhead rig thing here. 11 Leo. So different Leo, she wants to be king or queen, and she actually became she Princess Grace of Monaco. She married the prince or the king of Monaco. So same sign, Leo, same ascendant, Scorpio, but her life worked out differently. And so you look and see, we know that Clint got, Grace got public acclaim, and she was lauded, and she was a big star and all the rest of it. So you then look at the rest of Grace's chart to find out, or maybe to understand. She's got Taurus in the 7th house because Prince Rainier. Why did she marry him and not somebody else? Because she could have married all sorts of movie actors. But I seem to remember, where is her? Okay, she's got the sun at 19 Scorpio in the 1st house. Sorry if you can't read that. But Clint's got the sun in the 7th. So if you think of it this way, the ruler of the midheaven is in the 7th. Clint needs other people when it comes to his career. Because if you remember the logic, the ruler of the 1st in the 7th, other people control you. The ruler of the 7th in the 1st, you control other people. So that's a lot. So Clint, with his career, needs partnerships, needs other people. Princess Grace, on the other hand, she's got Leo here in the 10th house and the sun in the 1st. Her career was being herself. And she was an actress, sometimes with Alfred Hitchcock. But then she became Princess Grace of Monaco. She was like a celebrity in her own right. The career was herself. So you begin to get, and if you take one point at a time, like a sign on a cusp, and write down a short sentence that sums up the nature of that sign on that cusp, as you go through, you end up with, I'll come back to this in a minute, you end up with, the reason I wanted to talk like this is because I've now got, I've got an overhead camera. I don't know how well it works, but if you buy a rig, if you want an overhead shot like this, you can buy a rig where you've got a bar across, you've got a bracket here for the tabletop and a bracket here for the tabletop, and you've got a horizontal bar, and you've got a clamp, or you've got some kind of screw in the middle for the camera to fit, right? And you've also got holes here for other screws to fix lights and other things that you want. So you order the kit, and the first thing you do is you open the box, and then you make sure you've got all the bits and pieces that are supposed to come in the box. This is what we're doing here, sort of, with Scorpio rising. That's one part, that's one item in the box. Scorpio rising, I desire for myself. Then you've maybe got the Pisces decanate. I want to believe in myself as well. And so every little sentence or few words that you put together based on the horoscope will give you different items in the horoscope that you can then, and once you've been through as many times as you want, and always taking one step at a time. So do the signs, then do the decanates, and then do the rulers and the sign of the ruler and the decanate of the ruler and all the rest of it. At this point, we're still gathering all the items that we're going to need or we're going to make use of to build the horoscope. Do you know what I mean? Rather than, as people do, there's a chart of Princess Grace. What do you do? And usually people will say to you, okay, what do you notice? What do you see in the chart? And that's the wrong way to go, because all you're going to do is see what you think you know. But it may be nothing to do with the person, really. So you're better to begin with the first house, the self, as we did last time. And then, but instead of just looking at the whole chart at once and trying to make sense of it, you break it down into bits and pieces, sign and cusp. What does that mean? And eventually, the reason for having other the reason for having other charts is because we've got, if I can find it, there we've got, sorry about the yellow paper, I don't have any white. Anyway, Clint Eastwood, an actor-director. And then here we've got Ben Affleck, who, what have we got in the midheaven? Pisces midheaven and Cancer rising. So Ben was also an Oscar-winning, well, I don't think Clint got, I think he got Best Director and so on. But so we've got Ben Affleck, who was, he was an actor, or he still is an actor, but he's not the same level as Clint Eastwood, because it's like Clint's a big star and Ben is a successful actor, director, but he's not enormous like Clint is. So Clint got a Irving Thalberg award for, 40 years in Hollywood. Ben is never going to get that kind of award. He's been nominated for acting and Best Supporting Actor and so on. Somehow he got a nomination for in Shakespeare in Love, playing Mercutio. It's so terrible. Anyway, it's a good movie, but Ben is not very convincing as an English actor. Anyway, so Ben, but the difference between they're both actors and directors, because Ben won an Academy Award, an Oscar, for directing Argo in 2009 or something. So he's an actor, director, award-winning director, and he came to fame, I think, in the beginning when he and Matt Damon wrote Good Will Hunting, because he got an Oscar, I think, for best screenplay written for the screen, not an adaptation of some other piece of writing. So now we've got two actors, and we've got Princess Grace, another actor who retired from acting after a couple of movies, or maybe more, but then she became a celebrity in her own right. So Ben, we know that this is the chart of an award-winning, Oscar-winning writer, actor, director. And here we've got Clint, who is an award-winning, same kind of category. And so now we're looking at the chart and we're trying to figure out what shows that Ben would be a writer, a screenplay writer, an award-winning writer, an actor, and a director. And so we've got, and because it's the 10th house, I guess, for the career, we've got 18 Pisces up here. Is it 18? 18 Pisces. So that's the Cancer decanate of Pisces. Pisces is I believe, right? So I believe in my career. And Virgo, so that I can analyze, home conditions, or analyze the final outcome. And so we've got Pisces ruled by Jupiter over here in Sagittarius and retrograde. So the ruler of the 10th is in the 6th. His business, his career is to be of service in a philosophical way because it's Jupiter. But at the same time, it's the Cancer decanate, and we've got the moon over here in Virgo in the 5th house. The 5th house happens to rule movies and the entertainment industry as well. And he's got the rule of the 10th in the fifth. So that's one strong indication of involvement with entertainment. Sigmund Freud's got a planet in the fifth relating to the midheaven. Freud, you probably don't know, Freud once wrote a Hollywood screenplay in like 1940 something, I think. And it was supposed to be a psychological thriller using his ideas about how people function, how they're built. So this is the reason for having multiple charts that you're studying all at the same time. So Clint, as I mentioned before, has at least 8 children by 6 different women. Children is the fifth. So we're looking, we've got unusual circumstances with the planet Uranus in the fifth. And here we've got, I think it's 0, if I remember. Yeah, 0 Capricorn. Or is his birth time out by a couple of minutes, in which case he could have 29 or 30 degrees of Pisces, which is a whole different story. And so but now you know this is a chart of somebody who had 8 children. And so you put it away, and then you think about who else has multiple children. Elon Musk has got apparently 14 children. But I don't know how many women, but he's got this thing about wanting to have millions of babies. So you can look at Clint's fifth house and what's involved with it, and Elon Musk. Elon Musk's chart, a reasonably accurate birth chart, is on astro.com. You can find it there. So you look at Clint's fifth house for children, and you look at Elon's fifth house for children, and see what they've got in common or what story is told. Maybe they've got different reasons for wanting children. Maybe it's Clint's Scorpio rising. He just desires women, and he wants to have women. And that can be why he wants to have babies. Whereas Elon Musk seems to have a different starting point. He sort of wants to, I don't know what he wants to do. But anyway, you've got, this is the reason for having multiple charts of different people. And when you have a thought about, okay, who's another actor-director? There are quite a few of them, and you'll find, I don't think Martin Scorsese, did he win Oscars? I don't know I think he best movie, but I don't think he ever got best director. But anyway, he makes movies. So you can look up Martin Scorsese and put it together with Ben Affleck and Clint Eastwood, and you'll find that it's not, you'll find different planets and signs involved in the charts of people who have similar experiences. So it's not that with Leo in the midheaven you want to direct, but if you've got Pisces in the midheaven, you don't want to direct. So you need to, instead of starting off with what you think is the answer, you look at the chart and examine what's there and figure out what you've got. With looking at signs and houses and so on, we're getting together the items in what we're going to build, which is an understanding of the nature of the individual, and then we can answer questions about that person. But you can't answer questions until you can read a chart. So I think that's about my time up. So I'm going to stop at this point. If you have comments or questions, leave them down below. And I've been better about reading comments and leaving replies. So if you leave a comment, I'll read it. I don't know, I've been bad at replying to people, but I'll read it and I'll leave a reply, and maybe we can take it from there and have a kind of conversation back and forth. That was it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a few days. Okay, bye-bye.